I'm State Senator John Kissel, and I've had the distinct honor and privilege of representing not only Enfield, but folks in North Central Connecticut for the last 26 years. And I can tell you that, and commissioners right here, if you want to see an area of the state where we love our veterans, and we have so many of them that have served in so many capacities, here in Enfield in North Central Connecticut, this is veterans country. And first of all, I just want to say thank you to everybody out there who's a veteran. So let's give them a round of applause. As your master of ceremonies, I will be doing my best not to trip and fall off the stage. So at this time, if we could all rise for the presentation of the colors, Lucien Lefebvre, Commander, American Legion Post 154. Post the colors. Present arms. Order arms. Thank you, gentlemen. Please remain standing for our invocation by Representative Gregory Stokes.
If we could pray. Our Heavenly Father, we are thankful for this day. We're thankful for the town of Enfield, the state of Connecticut, and our country at large. We're thankful for the men and women that have served in all the battles and those that have served in peacetime. Today we honor those that in wartime gave their time and effort, and some gave their lives, Lord, to protect our freedoms and give us liberty. We're thankful to honor those men and women today in this ceremony. We're thankful for their families to be here to observe that, to show honor to those that gave their time and energy to make our nation the great nation it is. We ask in Christ's name, amen.
Thank you, Representative Stokes. At this time, I'd like to ask Ms. Lori Gates to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Lori, and as probably everyone knows, Lori heads up Enfield Hoo-Ha, who does so much for our veterans. At this time, we will listen to the national anthem. At this time, I just want to make some brief welcoming remarks. As I stated at the outset, I'm tremendously honored and humbled to have had the ability to represent folks of North Central Connecticut in our state senate for the last 26 years. I represent 7 towns here in North Central Connecticut, and they are all great veterans communities. But we all know that not only do you risk your lives, you men and women who serve our nation, if you're in danger zones or war areas, but as unfortunately happened less than a year ago to a young man named Dustin Doyen from Suffield, you could just be doing your job on a Navy vessel that gets into a calamitous crash with some other vessel and lose your life. So the men and women who risk their lives up into and including their own life by signing a check to Uncle Sam, you are indeed heroes and heroines to myself and all the folks here in North Central Connecticut. And not only that, but your husbands and wives, your sons and daughters, your moms and dads, and other family and friends. They understand the sacrifice and sacrifices that you have made and may continue to make by virtue of the fact that you may still suffer from something from service, or still have dreadful memories, or some other thing out there may be troubling you. I'm so honored that we have a truly incredible Commissioner of Veterans Affairs with us this afternoon, and he will speak shortly. But first, I'd like to also welcome up our 2 state reps for some opening remarks. So first, I'd like to ask Representative Carol Hall to offer some remarks to all of you. Representative Hall?
Thank you all. My name is Carol Hall. I represent the 59th District, which is Enfield and East Windsor, and I'd like to welcome you all this afternoon for this wonderful event. I stand before you as a daughter of a Vietnam vet who served over 20 years in the Air Force. I stand before you as a wife of an Army vet and the mother of an active soldier. I'm just going to be very brief because I'm here to honor you, and we're not here to hear politicians speak, so I'll make it as brief as I can. From the hour of this nation, our best and bravest have stepped forward to defend our freedoms. The unbroken cord of their service stretches back in the midst of hundreds of centuries of American history. We salute you, our brave veterans, and recall the sacrifices that you have made for our freedoms and for our nation's strength. We are grateful for your service, we are grateful for your sacrifice, and our nation owes you a debt it will never be able to fully repay. But on this day of honor, we hope in some small way we will convey our gratitude with this ceremony today. As I close, I just want to say I am humbled, deeply humbled, and in awe I stand before you in front of so many heroes. I thank you for your selfless dedication, your family's shared sacrifice of your service, and I would also like to thank you for the privilege of being here today to honor you and your families. God bless you, God bless your families, and God bless America.
That was excellent, Carol. Now, Representative Greg Stokes.
Thank you, Senator. It is a joy to be here. I was just reflecting that it was 43 years ago this past spring that I sat down with my father as I was concluding my education, trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life, and we had a firm conversation, and he said, why don't you look at the military? My father served in World War II in the Army and then in the Air Force in Korea. So shortly after, I found myself joining the Navy and enjoying my time there and serving on an oiler as a boiler tech. We call ourselves BTs or snipes. We're the ones that never had any suntans. We're always in the bottom of the ship. And I remember getting out of the military, going back to my hometown outside the city of Detroit. And I remember looking for work and thinking that as a veteran, it may have some type of advantage. But it was right after Vietnam, because Vietnam ended the month I joined. And I remember it was not the environment I thought it should be or was to be. I remember my father, I remember others talking about their time when they came home and all those that cheered them on. It was a little disappointing. As the years have passed, obviously we have rebirthed in our hearts a love and respect for all those who served in all wars, including Vietnam, realizing that men and women gave sacrifices, came home sometimes emotionally damaged. And then about 23 years ago, I moved to Enfield, where my wife, this is her hometown, a graduate of this high school. And I remember the first thing I wanted to do is go to a town green, because in Detroit, we don't have town greens. We came here to New England and found out it was just beautiful. And the first thing that I noticed was the monuments and memorials and things there that named many, many people that gave sacrifice and served from the town of Enfield. And I knew this is a place that I wanted to spend the rest of my life, raise my kids and now my grandkids. And I got to tell you, I'm so proud to be a representative in Enfield. I'm so proud of our veterans. I'm so proud of all those that served. And I got to tell you, every time I talk about Enfield, the key thing that comes up is to talk about our veterans and the community that honors our veterans in so many ways. When I became part of the House of Representatives, I asked to join the Veteran Affairs Committee. I was granted that, and I've tried my best to work diligently to provide assistance to veterans, because I think the temperature and the heartbeat of a community is how they treat those who served our country. And we thank you, veterans, and we thank you for being here today. God bless you.
Thank you, Greg. It's now my privilege and honor to introduce our Commissioner of Veterans Affairs. Thomas J. Soddy was confirmed by the Connecticut General Assembly as Commissioner of the Connecticut Department of Veterans Affairs on February 21st, 2018. Commissioner Soddy previously served as acting commissioner of the department since October 2017, and prior had served as Chief of Staff and General Counsel for the department. Commissioner Soddy is a major in the United States Army Reserve and also serves as on the Danbury City Council. Prior to beginning his service with the Department of Veterans Affairs in May of 2015, Commissioner Soddy served as an Assistant Attorney General and Special Prosecutor, litigating numerous cases, supervising investigations to stop false and deceptive practices and recover funds from state of Connecticut constituents. In other words, pardon? You don't have to read the scratch. That's all right. I want to read some of it, because basically, Commissioner, you were out there on the beat stopping people who were perpetuating fraud against our constituents. Thank you for doing that. Commissioner Soddy received his commission in the Army Reserve in 2005 and completed officer basic training in 2006 and officer advanced training in 2014 and command and general staff college in 2016. I will follow the Commissioner's advice and skip a little. Commissioner Soddy is a graduate of Western Connecticut State University and received his Juris Doctorate from Quinnipiac College School of Law, cum laude. He is a member of the American Legion Post 60 in Danbury, Catholic War Veterans Post 1042 in Danbury. Commissioner Soddy lives in Danbury with his wife, Valerie Ventura Soddy, and their twin children, Sabrina and Jacob. And I'm just going to tell you this. I haven't had huge amounts of experience with Commissioner Soddy until lately, and I can just tell you that he's a gentleman. He cares passionately for all our veterans. Not only does he continue to serve our state and our nation, not only in his capacity as commissioner, but as member of the reserves, but he's also sincere regarding how important it is to treat each man and woman who served our nation or serves our nation with dignity and respect. I was at a ceremony a couple of weeks ago and raised an issue regarding someone who said they were having a hard time proving that they were a veteran to access some benefits, maybe it was a restaurant or a store. And he told me how it's done, but then he reached into his pocket and gave me his card and said, "This is my personal number, have that veteran contact me." And I said, "It's okay for this person to call you directly?" And he goes, "Absolutely." That is the kind of person you want as your Commissioner of Veterans Affairs. Without further ado, I present you Commissioner Sadi.
Thank you, Senator, for the very kind and humbling introduction, and thank you for your service to our state. Good afternoon, Representative Hall. Thank you for your service, because not only to our state, but family members serve along with their veterans, whether they're their parents, their children, or their spouses. Ms. Gates, thank you for leading us in the pledge. Representative Stokes, for your service to our state and nation, and to Mayor Ludwig for your service here in Enfield. My thanks to you, ladies and gentlemen, for being here, but most of all, to our veterans who are in the audience. I thank you for allowing me this opportunity to participate in this very special ceremony honoring our wartime service veterans. I also want to thank American Legion Post 154 for their support of this ceremony, and to all those who are in this audience who are members of veterans service organizations from Enfield and around the region. Thank you for your continued service to your brothers and sister veterans in this community and beyond. I'm continually honored to be able to serve as commissioner because I have the privilege of leading an agency with the mission of serving those who have served. And you in this room know that it is only because of those who have served and those who continue to serve that Americans can live in this free and democratic nation where we can speak our minds, support or oppose government policies and politicians, and worship as we wish without fear of oppression. I know that that is so strongly felt here in Enfield. I was with you back on Memorial Day weekend, and while the Memorial Day parade was unfortunately rained out, that rain didn't dampen the spirits, because then I had the privilege of standing on this stage and seeing people come into this auditorium. The bands come in, the veterans, the community come into this auditorium and hold a ceremony recognizing those who have fallen, those who need to be memorialized on that day. I know that Enfield has great patriotism and pride, and I hope I'm not stating this incorrectly, but I was told by several veterans that day that during World War II, Enfield had either the highest or among the highest proportion of its able-bodied citizens serving under arms in World War II. That is a testament. The highest. A testament, yes. So I know that to you, our veterans who are here, you understand the meaning of service to country and to community. The rest of us who are here because we understand that it's society's collective moral obligation to serve and support our veterans and to recognize that service. That is why I'm proud to join with all of you in honoring our wartime service veterans who protected this nation and hundreds of millions of others across the globe from tyranny and oppression. And while the Wartime Service Medal recognizes individual service, there is a symbol that stands for the collective service that Representative Hall spoke of all the men and women in our armed forces throughout our history, and that is our flag, which since June 14, 1777, has officially stood for this nation, a nation created and maintained by the men and women in our armed forces, past and present. The stars and stripes are not just colors dyed on a cloth. They stand for freedom and democracy that we enjoy as Americans, that has been paid for with the service and sacrifice of those in uniform, including those who laid their life down for their country, so that those hundreds of millions of people could live in freedom. That is something we must ensure that this nation never forgets. Unfortunately, as I've said before on this very stage, and as Representative Stokes mentioned, this nation has at times failed to take up the mantle of supporting its veterans and their family members. That was especially the case for our Vietnam veterans, who had to unjustly endure the attacks of politicians and protesters and the apathy of an American public to their plight. What those protesters, what the politicians, what the American public seem to have forgotten, and what we must always remember, is that it's not the veteran who starts the war, and it's not the veteran who sets national policy in conducting that war, and it's not the veteran who has the privilege of sitting at the table to negotiate a ceasefire, an armistice, or an enduring peace. But it is the veteran who served, who fought, and who sacrificed, no matter their personal political feelings, because they answer to a higher calling, that of duty, honor, and country. So to the Vietnam veterans that are here today, I thank you for not losing faith in the American people, and I ask those Vietnam veterans here today to please stand so that we may collectively thank you and welcome you home. The Vietnam veterans that are in this audience, please stand. Thank you for your service and for not losing faith in the American people. And to all in this room, to all veterans in this room, no matter your branch, whether you served domestically or abroad, those of you who served in time of war, you raised your right hand, as your brothers and sisters who served in Vietnam did. You took that oath to protect and defend this nation and other people across the globe. To all our wartime service members, please stand up so we can recognize all of you. All our wartime service members in this audience. Thank you. When I look at you, Semper Fi, it's okay for an Army guy to say it? Semper Fi. When I look across the room, I see so many veterans who, after they hung up the uniform, continued a lifetime of service. Service to their families, service to their communities, and service in support of their brothers and sisters in arms, the veterans and those still serving in the military. This should remind all Americans that the veterans here today and those across our country, those who have served this nation past and present, are not just names on a roster, not just data in a report, not just statistics in a history book or a news article. They were and are mothers and fathers, husbands and wives, brothers and sisters, sons and daughters, loved ones and friends who answered the call to serve in uniform and then continued that service at home, which has been invaluable to strengthen the very freedom they fought to protect through their military service. And it is through ceremonies like this that we remember and thank our veterans and communicate to the current and future generations the importance of service to country and the debt this nation owes to those of you in this room who served. I'm proud to be here to honor you and to be able to join the other officials here in presenting our Wartime Service Medal to our Connecticut Wartime Service veterans. May God bless all of you, the United States of America, our armed forces. Thank you for your service.
I'm going to exercise the prerogative of the Master of Ceremonies at this time. I just feels a little bit remiss if I don't ask our mayor, Mike Ludwig, to come up here and see if he has a few remarks as well. I've passed it by the commissioner and he's okay with it.
Sorry about that. Again, welcome to Enfield High. Again, if you haven't been here before, you guys did a pretty good job with your tax dollars in this high school, so congratulations there as well. And I just want to say, keep it really brief. First of all, it's an honor for me to be the mayor of the town. And I think, you know, when we sit here before and we see how patriotic Enfield is, again, I think the thing that we all have in common and we forget, and it's because of your service and your sacrifice, is we have a title that everyone else in the world wants. Everyone else in the world would love to have. And it's because of what you have done throughout the history, through World War I, World War II, all the way up to the current conflicts. Because of your sacrifice, because of the family sacrifices, we're all Americans. There's nothing greater than being called an American. So again, this is why Enfield, again, honors its veterans. And we have so many veterans because we understand how great of a title it is to be called an American. And I want to personally thank everyone. Thank you for coming. Hopefully we have we can move folks along pretty quickly and honor everyone who deserves to be honored. So thank you very much for coming to Enfield High today, and it's an honor for me to be here. Thank you.
So I want people walking out of here feeling very upbeat about their family member and friends who have served our great nation. And the last thing is, I want to thank all the staff that worked so hard to put this together, especially Erica Poca, Representative Stokes, Representative Hall, our presenters, Lori Gates, Mayor Michael Ludwig, and Commissioner Sadi. And I will finally say this, Commissioner Sadi and I will remain here as long as it takes. If a family member or friend didn't get the picture they wanted, you will stay here until you get the picture that you'd like to have. So thank you, and God bless you all.